At a school in Germany, a strange incident is being investigated by local police. Meanwhile, a mysterious woman appears in front of the school and sees a bloodstained table lying outside. The strangest thing is the hole in the wall on the first floor, indicating that the table was thrown from there by a superhuman force. The woman rushes inside to see what happened, when she finds a little girl named Wendy, hiding on the court with her Discman and headphones. The woman introduces herself as Dr. Stern, a government psychiatrist, who promises to take the child to a safe place. Years later, Wendy now works as a waitress, takes her medication every morning, and lives with her husband, security guard Lars, and their young son, Carl. Although they have a happy life, the two are experiencing financial problems and receive a letter from the mortgage company with an eviction notice. Wendy then decides to ask her boss for a raise, and after breakfast, she says goodbye to her husband and son to go to another day of work. After finishing her shift, Wendy goes to her boss's office and asks for a promotion, since she has been working at the diner for 3 years. However, her boss refuses, saying that the waitress needs to work harder and show more strength and confidence before she can get a raise. Even so, she decides to give Wendy a chance and assigns her more work, including taking out the trash. Despite the humiliation, the waitress accepts and goes to the dumpster, where she encounters a homeless man asking for food. Without her boss noticing, she gives the man a little food, and in gratitude, he tells Wendy that she is one of us. The waitress has no idea what he means, but she ignores him and finishes her work. At the end of the day, Wendy returns home and passes a group of friends drinking in a parking lot. Suddenly, one of them invites Wendy to join them, but she just keeps listening to music on her headphones and continues on her way home. Minutes later, Wendy is crossing a bridge when a man runs towards her. Believing him to be one of the guys from the parking lot, she attacks him with her backpack, but realizes it was the homeless man who asked her for food. The man introduces himself as Merrick and asks if she is still taking her medication every day. She has no idea how he knows this, but Merrick advises her to stop taking it, as it serves to inhibit her special abilities. Wendy begins to think the man is crazy, but Merrick gives her a demonstration, and without further ado, he jumps off the bridge and lands on the road. The young woman is frightened and runs to see if he is okay, with Merrick appearing unharmed on the road, but immediately afterwards, he is hit by a truck. Faced with this incident, Wendy calls emergency services and runs back home, frightened by what just happened. Because of this, the next morning she goes to meet Dr. Stern for her therapy session. However, instead of telling her about the incident on the bridge, she tries to cover it up, saying she had strange dreams where she had superhuman abilities. Wendy says they were just dreams, but the therapist recommends increasing her dosage of pills to avoid any problems in the future. After the session, Wendy returns home and finds another letter, this time with an eviction notice. Things are getting increasingly difficult in her life, but all she can do is continue working and hope for the long-awaited promotion to pay off her debts. On another day at work, she takes out the trash and comes across Merrick, alive and unharmed. He then reveals that, like Wendy, he is a freak, a name given to individuals who have special abilities, with Merrick having an indestructible body. Now that he has proven the truth, Merrick once again asks Wendy to stop taking her medication so she can discover her powers. The waitress decides to follow his advice, and later, before going to sleep, she throws the pills in the toilet and waits to see the results. Another day passes and Wendy is at work when she starts to feel ill, with a strong discomfort taking over her body. The situation only gets worse when she goes to prepare a customer's meal, but the pain is so strong that it causes her to bend a steel tray without the slightest difficulty. It seems that Wendy has super strength, but to prevent anyone from finding out, she hides the tray in the closet and continues with her work. On her way home, she again encounters the group of friends drinking, and they tease her again. Wendy tells them to leave her alone, but the leader of the group doesn't like that and attacks her. Even though she is pinned to the ground, Wendy manages to get rid of the guy, and when the others join the fight, she easily defeats them with powerful punches, throwing the lunatics away. There is no doubt that she is also a freak, and for the first time, Wendy feels free and happier than ever. The next morning, she greets customers with enthusiasm and is more dedicated to her work, but to her surprise, Dr. Stern shows up unexpectedly. She says she was worried because Wendy didn't go to therapy and reminds her of the importance of taking her pills to avoid further problems. Even though she suspects her intentions, Wendy promises to follow the treatment faithfully. As soon as the doctor leaves, Wendy continues her work, when her boss appears, holding the dented steel tray. She believes that the waitress did it and promises to deduct the cost of a new tray from her salary. Furious, Wendy grabs her by the shirt and lifts the lunatic into the air, saying that if there are any deductions, she will regret it for the rest of her life. Faced with all this strength and determination, The boss is shocked and runs back to her office. After this incident, Wendy goes to Merrick's hideout to learn more about her powers. The man tells her that there are several freaks around the world, but the government has started a program to hide them, using drugs and psychiatric treatments. Finally, Merrick says that if she is looking for more answers, she should investigate the building where the therapy sessions are held. Wendy then decides to go there, but the place is completely closed. She tries to think of a way to get in without attracting attention and remembers Superman, who could jump from one building to another with a single leap. She decides to test it out, and as expected, she is also capable of super jumps and crosses the window on the top floor. Upon entering the room, she finds a file with several patient records, including that of Elmar, her co-worker at the diner. Suspecting that he is also a freak, Wendy goes to his house and finds him in his bedroom, about to take the inhibition pills. Elmar is startled to see his colleague outside and asks her what she is doing at his house. Wendy tells him not to take the pill, as they were created to inhibit his superpowers. Even though he finds this absurd, Elmar is a big fan of comic book heroes and decides to believe her. In addition, he has a difficult relationship with his father and stepmother, who always criticize him for not having achieved anything in life and still living with his family. If what Wendy is saying is true, he will finally have the chance to prove his worth, so he decides to stop taking the medication. Another day goes by and Wendy feels stronger and more confident. She even goes to her boss's office to ask for a promotion, but before she can respond, Wendy thanks her for the raise and promises to dedicate herself to her work. At the end of the workday, she runs into Elmar, who says he has stopped taking his medication, and then he picks up a lamp and turns it on with the power of his mind. Without the medication, Elmar discovered that his superpower is to emit electricity from his body. The two then go out at night to talk about it, and realize that since childhood, their powers had already manifested themselves. However, since they began treatment with Dr. Stern, their abilities had been hidden, and the truth had been forgotten. Elmar believes that powers are a gift and that people like them are destined for something greater, like comic book superheroes. However, Wendy just wants to solve her personal and financial problems. Because of this, when the two pass by an ATM, she manages to open it with a kick and takes all the money to pay the mortgage on the house. In addition, she invites Elmar to spend some of the money and the two go out to have fun at a nightclub. In the middle of the night, Wendy sees a group of friends bothering a young woman and decides to intervene, inviting them to stay in a more private place. However, as soon as they get there, Wendy teaches the idiots a lesson, knocking them all down with her super strength. One of them still resists and tries to attack her from behind, but Elmar arrives in time and knocks him to the ground with an electric shock. Wendy thanks him for his help and the two return to their homes, with the waitress finding her husband asleep in the living room. As soon as he wakes up, she gives him the money she got to pay the mortgage, and the two enjoy a romantic moment together. The next day, Wendy goes to pick up Carl from the field and sees her son being harassed by 3 boys. The leader of the group sees Carl's mother approaching and taunts her, but instead of attacking him, Wendy takes the 3 boys' bikes and bends them all without any difficulty. Carl is impressed by his mother's abilities. After paying off the house debts, she decides to fill the pool to enjoy some time with the family. However, unbeknownst to Wendy, the guys she attacked at the club are going to file a complaint, saying they were attacked by a woman with super strength. At first, the police think it's a joke, but the chief sends the 2 away, as an expert has been sent to take over the case. This expert is Dr. Stern, who wants to know more about the woman who attacked them. Meanwhile, Wendy takes Elmar to meet Merrick, and the young man shows her his superpower, activating all the electrical energy in the hideout. With the 3 of them together, Merrick tells them that there are more people like them, but they are all trapped in a place disguised as a psychiatric clinic. Upon learning this, Elmar suggests saving them all and revealing the truth to the world about the existence of individuals with special abilities. Merrick doesn't think it's a good idea, as the place is protected, and if they are discovered, they will all be targeted by the government. Even so, Wendy supports the idea, as other people deserve the chance to start their lives over. Seeing that the 2 will not change their minds, Merrick agrees to help and shows them the way to the psychiatric clinic. The 3 then leave by car, with Elmar showing off the costume he created for his superhero, Electroman. He also brought costumes for his colleagues, but Merrick refuses to wear one, and Wendy only wears a red wig as a disguise. Minutes later, they arrive at the clinic, and while Merrick and Elmar wait outside, Wendy goes to talk to the security guard. The guy warns her that unauthorized personnel are not allowed to enter, but Wendy uses her charm and lures the guy into showing her where the bathroom is. The man agrees, only to be knocked unconscious by Wendy, who ties him up with duct tape. With that problem solved, all that remains is to disable the security cameras, but Elmar takes care of that by firing a strong electric shock at the control panel. Now that the defense system has been disabled, the three set off in search of the patients, unaware that the security guard has woken up. Even tied up, he manages to reach the alarm button on the table and calls for backup. At that very moment, Wendy and the others find the patients, but are approached by a police officer, who points his gun and orders everyone to surrender. Wendy then pushes a table against the man, who, with the impact, fires his gun at Merrick, but the bullet does not cause him any harm. Still, the alarm is triggered and the three try to escape, but are surrounded by several police officers with their guns ready to shoot. Suddenly, heavy rain begins to fall, and Elmar uses this to his advantage, firing an electric charge that knocks all the police officers unconscious. Finally, the group flees, but despite having escaped, Wendy becomes nervous and orders them to stop the car. She fears that the electric shock may have eliminated the police officers, and Merrick scolds Elmar for using his powers recklessly. He also says that if they act without thinking, they could end up hurting people, including those they love most, as happened with his wife and daughter. After revealing this, Merrick leaves, telling the two to be careful, or they will make the same mistakes he did. Elmar doesn't care and continues to believe that his powers serve a purpose. However, Wendy feels guilty about what happened and decides to forget the whole thing and return to her family. She then organizes a party at her house and invites the neighbors to spend a day socializing with her family. However, Elmar has no intention of giving up his powers and fears that Merrick will try to stop him, so he decides to do something about it. He goes to talk to Dr. Stern, saying he wants to return to therapy and take his treatment more seriously. He also mentions something strange that happened in recent days, when he met a homeless man who advised him to stop taking his medication. Upon hearing this, Dr. Stern asks who this man is, and Elmar gives her Merrick's location. Hours later, several armed agents raid Elmar's hideout. He tries to escape but is detained and taken to the psychiatric clinic. Clueless about what's going on, Wendy tries to enjoy the moment with her family when Elmar shows up at her house dressed as a superhero. Seeing him, Wendy calls him inside to talk and asks what he's doing there. Elmar tells Wendy about Merrick's capture and fears that they will be the next targets. However, he says he has found a way to save themselves and suggests that Wendy accompany him, because with their powers combined, no one will be able to stop them. Wendy refuses, as she does not want to hurt anyone or put her family at risk. This response upsets Elmar, and he leaves, determined to use his abilities without anyone trying to stop him. After this conversation, Lars goes to his wife to ask who that guy was and what he wanted. No longer able to hide the truth, Wendy tells him that he is a kind of superhero, known as a freak, because he has superhuman powers. Not only that, but Wendy also has superpowers, which were hidden thanks to the medication prescribed by her psychiatrist. Lars doesn't believe it and says that it's all just hallucinations because Wendy isn't taking her medication. He then decides to call Dr. Stern, but Wendy tries to stop him and throws him towards the living room, leaving Lars with an injured arm. All the guests are shocked by what happened, especially Carl, who asks what his mother did. Realizing the mistake she has made, Wendy runs away, not knowing what to do. After thinking for a while, she decides to talk to Elmar, who is at his house when his father shows up to talk to him. The man says he is tired of his son's meaningless life, of him not trying to do anything with his life and only focusing on reading comic books. In response, Elmar says that since the loss of his mother, he has always wanted his father's support, but all he has received is criticism and excessive demands. He accuses his father of never asking him what he really wanted out of life, and for a moment, the man feels guilty and apologizes to his son. Elmar then tries to reconcile with his father and the two embrace, but the man still harbors strong resentment and knocks his father down with an electric shock. At that moment, Wendy arrives on the scene and is horrified to see what Elmar has done. He doesn't care, and says that he and Wendy are special people and must unite to take control of their destinies and guide others to a better world. Wendy is against it, because she knows that Elmar only has delusions of grandeur and wants to use his powers to control everyone around him. She decides to leave, but Elmar holds her back and, with an electric shock, knocks her unconscious. Hours later, Wendy wakes up in a room, her body strapped to a bed. Next to her is Dr. Stern, and Wendy tries to break free, as she knows the whole story about her trying to keep control of her true nature. However, the doctor says she was only trying to protect her from herself, especially after the incident years ago. Wendy then remembers when she was in high school with her mother and the two went to the principal's office after the girl was reprimanded for wearing headphones in class. The principal tells the girl that all students must obey the school rules, and as punishment, takes away her headphones for a few days. Wendy becomes enraged and this awakens her strength, with the girl pushing the table against the principal, causing him to crash through the wall. Remembering this, Wendy is overcome with guilt, but Dr. Stern says she needs care so she doesn't hurt other people. Realizing that she is a threat to herself and others, she agrees to stay and begins even more intense treatment at the clinic. After that, Dr. Stern talks to Lars about the situation and says that, to be on the safe side, he should also take his son for a consultation. The days pass, and Wendy becomes increasingly affected by the medication, but she does not try to resist and continues with the treatment. When night falls, she waits for the nurse to bring her medicine, but instead, Elmar appears. He gives Wendy a Discman identical to the one she used as a child and asks her to accept her nature and free herself from there. Wendy refuses and calls for help, so Elmar leaves, promising that she will come to him, one way or another. Minutes later, the entire city suffers a blackout due to a powerful surge in the electrical system. At that moment, Lars and Carl are at home when someone knocks on the door and they come face to face with Elmar. Recognizing him, Lars tells him to leave and even punches him out. Elmar tells him to calm down, saying he won't bother him anymore, and extends his hand, asking him to help him up. Meanwhile, at the clinic, the power outage has disabled the security locks and the prisoners begin to escape from their rooms. Wendy also leaves, fearing that her family is in danger, but Dr. Stern appears with a security guard and orders everyone to return. She refuses, and the security guard tries to arrest her, but Merrick appears to save her and knocks the man down with a blow. Dr. Stern then takes the security guard's gun and points it at Wendy, saying she is only trying to help her. However, the doctor becomes nervous and ends up pulling the trigger, but instead of hitting Wendy, the bullet hits Merrick, who stepped in front of her to protect her. This time, due to the medication, he is not invincible and is seriously injured. Wendy becomes enraged and knocks the doctor down with a punch, but it is too late for Merrick, and before losing his life, he asks her to reveal the truth to the world. After this tragedy, Wendy runs back home, where she finds Elmar next to Carl, with the young man surrounded by a slot car track. She knows that through the toy, Elmar can attack her son with electricity, and asks him what he wants. Elmar again offers her a chance to join him and use their powers to shape the world in their own way. Wendy refuses and tries to attack him, but she has not yet regained her powers, and Elmar easily pushes her away with his electricity. Wendy falls next to the bathroom, where she sees Lars, trapped by electrical wires. Despite this, he throws his wife a pair of anti-static cleaning gloves so she can protect herself from the electricity and save Carl. She thanks him for his help, and with her powers slowly returning, Wendy sets out to attack Elmar, pushing him with all her strength. The blow throws the man against the window and he falls into the pool, his body still energized. Because of this, Elmar becomes a victim of his own power, and the water causes a powerful electric shock, eliminating him forever. Finally, the confrontation is over, and Wendy manages to save her family, but she warns them that she will need to run away for a while, as she needs to find other people like her. Carl and Lars accept her decision, and Wendy leaves, minutes before the agents invade the house, only to find Elmar's body. Days later, Wendy begins a relentless search for other freaks, with the goal of freeing them and revealing the truth to the world. With her new team, she will not rest until everyone is free and can use their powers for the greater good. So what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below. And if you liked the video, like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you next time.